Welcome back to the channel, everyone. After what seems like forever, we are finally back in the world of Mobile Suit Gundam, and I gotta lead off by making a bit of a confession. I was wrong about the Dynasty Warriors Gundam games. A little over a year ago, I posted a video titled Why Zeonic Front is the Greatest Gundam Game Ever. Which, by the way, I do still stand by that statement, and I'm actually planning to return to Zeonic Front in the not too distant future, but I digress. In that video, I sort of glossed over, you could say, the Dynasty Warriors Gundam games, saying that mowing through hordes of helpless enemies doesn't really fit with the themes of what Gundam is all about. And to a certain extent, I still think that's true, and I do definitely prefer the non-Musou style Gundam titles. And while Journey to Jaburo, Encounters in Space, Federation vs. Zeon and the like, they don't quite compare to the level of realism that Zeonic Front offers, they are still much more thematically on point than mowing through hundreds of grunt mobile suits in a matter of minutes. But there are some out there that absolutely swear by these titles. Some even rank them as their favorite Gundam games, and hell, I've even heard people talk about how these are some of the best Musou games ever. Could I really have been that far off on my assessment? Well, I'll be the first to admit that I think I might have been. And after playing Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2, let me tell you, I finally get it now. Let's get into it. It should be no surprise that the game was developed by Omega Force, the same developer that was behind the previous entries in the Dynasty Warriors franchise. And it was published by Koei alongside none other than Bandai. The game released in 2008 across multiple console generations, seeing releases on the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. I actually did mess around a bit with the PS2 version of the game when I was making this video. It both ran and looked surprisingly good, but we're going to be sticking with the PS3 version, which is definitely the preferred method for experiencing this one since it offers better visuals, more enemies on screen, and more. But just for a quick comparison, here's the PS2 version.
In my way!
That's far enough, Gundam!
And here's the PS3.
Press? Why are you launching on your own?
You're mine.
It's Nanai! She's being mean to me!
Yeah, night and day difference, which is of course to be expected. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The PS3 never fails to blow me away with how good its visuals hold up, especially when upscaled. I mean, yeah, you can tell that it's not a modern game, but I don't think it looks half bad. Alright, so how is Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2's gameplay actually set up? Well, there are two primary game modes where you're going to be spending the majority of your time, although that will sort of shift to just one of those really once you spend some time with the game, but we'll touch on that a bit later. First, there's this game's take on story mode. Here, it's called Official Mode, and I think this is what really pulled me in initially. Instead of its own unique story, what we get here is more of a retelling of some of the more classic UC storylines. You get to play as either Amuro, Char, Camille, or Judo, and play through the events of the original Mobile Suit Gundam series, Zeta Gundam, Double Zeta, and Char's counterattack. Of course, not every single detail of the respective character stories are covered, but a lot of the bigger plot points are. For instance, when you're playing through a Char, the story begins by putting you into the cockpit of his infamous Zaku 2 as you're pursuing the White Base prior to its re-entry into Earth's atmosphere, and then continues on from there, right on into the events of Zeta and beyond. The fight in Texas Colony, Lala's death, the Ayugs fight over Jaburo, For's death, and the battle for Axis are all covered. The same treatment is given for the other characters as well, and all around, it creates a pretty fleshed out Universal Century story experience that, even if you'd never seen the show, would give you a pretty damn good understanding of what took place. At the start of missions, there's dialogue shown between characters that's fully voice acted.
Pilot? At my age?
Age isn't as important as skill. I'm curious about your abilities.
You're sending someone as young as me into battle because you're curious.
You make it sound bad. We'll never track down Amuro Ray using military intelligence alone. We need a new type like you to help.
How is any of this my problem?
You get these pre-rendered cutscenes that cover some of the bigger moments from the show that look pretty good considering their age.
Sent. This new Gundam isn't just for show! are you doing? Stop it! You don't have to go along with this! Back off! Get away from here!
We can't let Londo Bell hog all the glory.
You and Dogus too? Fall back! It's hopeless!
We'll never know unless we try! The Earth is at stake!
That's enough! Everyone stop!
In the end, the tragedies of mankind will spread and destroy the Earth. It's inevitable. That's why the human race must atone for what they have done to their planet. It's Judgment Day for humanity. Amuro, why can't you understand that?
Get back! My Gundam is...
What's this? The psycho frames are resonating. So much willpower focused here. Will it overload? That being said, I'm not sensing fear. It's more like, how can I explain? Warmth and even a sense of peace. Fascinating. Even those with the warmest of hearts still have the potential to destroy the Earth. Why can't you see that, Amuro?
I do! That's why we have to show the world this light within the human heart.
Axis has changed course! It's moving away from the Earth!
And there's even a personal history section where you can view additional info about whatever character you have selected, which helps to fill in and give you some additional context. As far as how scenarios are presented and how levels are actually laid out, well, if you've ever played a Dynasty Warriors game, you'll have a decent understanding of what to expect. You load into a level, and from there, proceed to move across the map into enemy-controlled zones, kill enough enemies inside those zones, and you'll conquer them. Depending on where the battle is taking place, whether it's on the ground or in 0G, you might be either restricted to traversing the map via the boundaries of the map's layout, or you might be able to move freely across the map however you see fit. Which this openness you get on the space maps is something I really appreciated. The ability to freely traverse between fields in whatever direction you choose just makes sense. I mean, space is open, so why shouldn't a map set there be too? Depending on the mission you're on, you'll find that the map and its zones, or fields as they're called, aren't static. As objectives progress and events play out, new enemies will pop up in different spots, requiring you to go over there and put them down. These new enemies will either take the form of entire new fields appearing, singular ace units that you'll recognize as characters from the show, or sometimes even giant bosses like the Psycho Gundam for example. Mission objectives are always pretty straightforward, and although they may seem to disguise themselves as something other than just conquering enemy fields, that's essentially what they all boil down to. Things do get mixed up a bit here and there, like for example when you have to stop an incoming missile barrage that's threatening access during the events of Char's counterattack, but even in this specific instance, it just boils down to having to conquer a number of enemy fields, but just on a timer. The same goes for when you have to escape Jaburo Base during the events of Zeta. You get another time-based mission where you essentially just get X amount of time to progress across the map through a few fields worth of enemies. And even when you're directed to protect a specific character, it's more of the same, just go to them on the map and clear and conquer the field they're in. This is what you expect in a Musou title though, and it's definitely not a downside. If you're picking a game like this up to play, you're not doing it because you want to fulfill menial tasks. You're here to kill shit and do it quickly, and boy does this game deliver on that. Cutting through groups of enemies is super satisfying, no matter what suit you're using, although of course one of the biggest appeals of gameplay is trying out all the various suits and finding your favorite. With over 60 options to choose from shows like Wing, G Gundam, Seed, and more, you've definitely got options. Like many similar titles, this game's extremely simple to pick up and play, and it features a pretty intuitive, straightforward control scheme that still holds up to modern standards. Movement is controlled with your left analog stick, while your camera is controlled with the right. You can also immediately snap your camera to the direction your suit is facing by hitting L1, which can also be held down to block. X is your dash button and can be held down to move at greater speed at the expense of boost gauge. Notably, units that have the ability to transform, like Zeta Gundam or Wing Gundam Zero, can also double tap X to transform and move at a much higher speed, which is not only a nice little detail, but also extremely useful. Square is used for melee attacks, and triangle for ranged ones. Square can also be held down to perform a powerful charged attack. Inputting different strings of multiple square inputs, followed by triangle, will allow you to do various unique attacks. These vary from suit to suit, but the strings for using the attacks are always the same. You can also extend these into longer combos by using X to dash immediately following the completion of a string. This consumes quite a bit of boost gauge, but can definitely be useful for dealing out additional damage since you can do this multiple times. R1 is used to fly upwards and go airborne, and circle is used to activate your suit special attack if you have adequate gauge to do so. And just like how the combo strings vary from suit to suit, so do SP attacks. Each unit has 2 SP attacks available, one that activates when used while on the ground, and another for in the air. There are also some unique ones too that can be activated by being within a certain proximity of an ally. Some of the SP attacks are very powerful. Powerful enough that a well-placed one can essentially clear an entire field in one go, which is extremely satisfying to pull off, while others, while still powerful, are not quite on that level. Before we move on, I'm excited to announce a brand new partnership with Apex Gaming PCs. With custom-built PCs available in different configurations at various price points, they're sure to have an option for any gamer out there, especially when you factor in their affordable and flexible financing options. Whether you're on a budget and opting for the entry-grade Apex Bronze, or looking to dominate your competition with the Streamer Plus, you can rest easy knowing that your investment is protected by the Apex standard 2-year parts and lifetime labor warranty. For a limited time, you can use my 10% discount code JARBO at checkout when purchasing. See link in the video description below. Now, when you first start your playthrough of Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2, you actually aren't all that incredibly powerful. Clearing through fields of enemies and enemy ace pilots won't be done in just a few attacks or with the singular activation of a special. There can actually be a fair bit of challenge, even on normal difficulty. It may not seem like it at first while you're dealing with wave after wave of grunt units that can be easily dispatched, but enemy aces and bosses can quickly remove chunks of your health and leave you wandering around the map looking for healing items to try to avoid death. Now, the game does feature a progression system, and I think it does a really good job of instilling a sense of power in the player as you progress. As you conquer fields, kill enemies, and complete missions, you gain XP, which in turn lets your character level up, increasing their effectiveness. Pilots can also unlock and equip skills by completing missions, and these offer all sorts of interesting effects when equipped, like releasing a powerful shockwave when you start your special attack, or granting gradual health restoration at the cost of receiving increased damage. Separate from your pilot, of course, is your mobile suit, which is also upgradable. When you complete missions, at the end, you unlock parts. Parts can vastly increase your melee, ranged, defense, and boosting capabilities. They can also grant you additional SP levels, allowing you to perform more powerful and longer-lasting special attacks. Now, when you play through official mode, this progression is pretty limited. Yes, you will get a few parts that will make you feel a bit more powerful, but it's really just a taste of the extent of the progression system. This is where the game's other game mode, Mission Mode, comes into play. In Mission Mode, you get to choose a pilot, which there's a fairly large selection of them by the way, and then proceed to play through various, you guessed it, missions. Altogether, there are 6 mission types: Story, Free, Collection, License, Friendship, and Extra missions. Each character has their own unique set of story missions. They aren't fully voice acted, but they do feature their own cutscenes. Unlike official mode, these ones aren't tied to canon events and feature a mixing of characters from various Gundam universes, so you'll see some pretty cool stuff, like Domon challenging Hero to a Gundam fight, which leads to the beginning of an alliance that ultimately leads to Hero helping defeat Kyoji, before then going on to help Amuro stop Axis from falling to Earth, without Amuro ending up dying in the process. These are also significantly more difficult than the standard story missions, requiring you to grind a bit and level up both your pilot and suit if you want to be able to complete them without really struggling. And you can hop into some of the other mission types and do just that. Collection missions can be useful for getting parts. License missions can unlock new licenses to let your pilot use suits that they wouldn't normally have access to, and friendship missions are useful for boosting relationships with characters, which is useful because a lot of missions have relationship requirements as prerequisites. Mission mode also features something called the Mobile Suit Lab. In here, you can upgrade existing parts, create new ones, or attach certain skills to parts in order to really increase the effectiveness of your mobile suits. This is a game mode that you can really sink a ton of time into, especially if you're trying to 100% complete everything, and it really helps to round out the overall package of what the game offers, perfectly complementing the official mode if you're still itching for more once you've completed it. I find it hard to not recommend Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2, especially for fans of the series. I found its gameplay to be extremely satisfying and somehow not quite as repetitive as I anticipated. That's not to say that doing the same combos over and over again isn't repetitive, it's just that the combat is so fun that I didn't really notice it. Using different mobile suits and messing around with their different combo strings and special attacks kept me coming back for more, and I felt that the difficulty level was just right for me, even on normal. Enemy aces were fun to fight against, and I just love getting things like these cool clash animations mid-combat. It just felt very Gundam-like, you know? I also appreciated a lot of the banter that takes place between characters while in mission, and some of the other small details like how, after completing the events of Char's counterattack, the title screen and main menu changed to reflect the events of the ending. Honestly, throughout my playtime, the only thing I thought was done kinda poorly were the giant boss fights. At first I enjoyed them, but they quickly became more of an annoyance than anything, not really requiring any sort of skill to take down, just lots of time spent dodging extremely telegraphed attacks while wailing away on them as often as possible. I don't know, these just didn't quite do it for me. What was your favorite Dynasty Warriors Gundam game? I've heard good things about Reborn, and I'm thinking about giving that one a shot next. Let me know down below, and as always, thanks for watching. Until next time.